Hey y'all, welcome back to week 2 of the 5 common transfer mistake challenge. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can definitely start by watching last week's video, or you can start with this one. Either way is honestly fine. But let me fill you in a little bit on what is happening right now. So last week I posted a video asking you to write down what you think, whatever you think, are the 5 most common, or some of the 5 most common mistakes folks make when they're trying to assist someone with a transfer. And last week I went over the first 2 of those common mistakes. Of course, also I went over the way to correct those mistakes. So this week I'm going to be showing you the final 3, the last 3 common transfer mistakes that people often make that are really simple to correct, and when they are corrected can make a huge difference in terms of the safety of the transfers that you're performing, in terms of the ease of the transfers that you're performing, and even in terms of the amount that the person you're helping is able to participate. So with that, I will go ahead and show you these next 3 common mistakes that are often done during transfers and the way to correct them. Enjoy. The third common problem is not making sure that all of the brakes on all of the equipment involved are locked. So most of the time people are usually pretty good at making sure that wheelchair brakes are locked. Although always double check, and always make sure that after you've checked that they're locked, that you do a check to make sure that those locks are actually engaged and that they're functional before you do that transfer, because the last thing that you want is for that chair to go rolling in one direction and the person that you're assisting end up on the floor. That's no fun for anyone. But there are some other pieces of equipment that it's important to make sure the wheels are locked on. For example, your friend, the rollator. Rollators have locks on their 4 wheels. I don't know if you can actually see that right now. This is sort of a difficult shot to frame everything in. But a rollator is a walker that has 4 wheels and a seat, and it also should have functioning brakes. You want to make sure before someone transfers, before someone sits down or stands up using a rollator, that those brakes are locked. Keep in mind that the brakes on a rollator are often not exactly bomb-proof. They're not the strongest brakes in the world. So you might need to provide a little bit of extra stability with that rollator. The other thing to keep in mind too is that these brakes can be easily broken, especially if you have the brakes on and then you try to use the rollator. That's one of the most common ways that these brakes can be broken. So just make sure that it's a good functioning order. You can absolutely have these brakes repaired if they need to be. The other piece of equipment that a lot of times people do not check whether or not brakes are locked on before they do transfers are hospital beds. Hospital beds have wheels. Why? So that we can move people to different places in a hospital without having them get out of bed. However, if the hospital bed brakes are unlocked and you go to do a transfer, that is a recipe for something serious to go wrong. Again, the bed can go one way as the force of the transfer is applied. The person can end up on the ground, and of course if you have a big heavy bed swinging around, there's a lot of potential for someone to get hurt. So making sure all the brakes are locked, that is a huge one, and it's so easy just to make sure they're all locked in order to keep everyone safe and sound. Number 4, this is a big one. It's also about equipment. You may note that equipment is actually sort of a theme in a lot of these videos. It's so important. Our equipment is only as safe as we make it. One of the big things that comes up in terms of equipment safety is not having it correctly placed before you go to move someone. I'll show you an example of something that's really common. So I'm going to move this wheelchair out of the way. Of course, what I'm about to show you, I've seen folks do with wheelchairs as well. But it does seem to be more common with bedside commodes. So let's say I was a person who was going to use this bedside commode. What's wrong with this placement? Well, it is actually a really common placement that people naturally tend to configure. It's understandable. I think that the reason is because people feel like they can hold on to something the whole time and never be at a point where they have to let go. However, the problem is, as you can see, I have to turn around a full 180 degrees, which means that if I'm the person who's going to use the bedside commode, there's a much farther distance that I have to go. There's a good chance my feet could get tangled up in themselves if I'm not able to properly weight shift and move my feet around. There's a huge space in which I can fall to either side, no matter which way I'm going here. So those are all big problems with having a bedside commode out this far. The problem for the person who's providing assistance is, of course, usually if you have someone using a bedside commode, it's because that person has some significantly limited mobility, some significant reason why they're not able to make it to the restroom. That also usually means they need a fair amount of assistance. So if I'm the person, let's get the helper up again. And again, I'm not even going to do this because this guy's heavy and I don't want to bring him around a full 180 degrees. But just so you can kind of see, if I have to have him stand and come all the way over here, then I'm essentially walking and carrying the weight of this person all the way over. Even if they're holding their own weight and I'm just providing support, there's a huge place here where they could fall. I might have to catch them, and then we're both at risk. So it's always a good idea with any of your equipment to make sure that you have it as close as possible and that you're limiting the distance that you actually have to travel. So in most cases, that means setting the wheelchair or the bedside commode so that it's touching whatever surface you are going to or from, and making it so instead of a full 180 degrees, instead we're only having to go a full 90 degrees. Don't worry if someone still needs support the whole time. That support can be provided by them reaching for the far armrest, by them pushing through the bed, by them holding onto your arms, etc. And again, as you can see here, this is the drop arm commode, which is handy. So there's no space for this person to fall in. Even if something goes sideways and the transfer isn't going to make it, all we have to do is just sit back down. There's no empty space for this person to fall in here. So it's a much safer transfer. You're much less likely to have to take someone down to the ground if your equipment is properly positioned. Okay, finally, number 5, and this is a big one. This is a really, really easy way for caregivers to get really, really hurt. It's also very common to see it happen. And the thing is, having someone that you're caring for put their arms around your neck during a transfer. Never allow someone to put their hands or their arms around your neck. And it's not because the person that you're helping is intending to cause you harm. It's because when someone is holding around your neck, there is a great possibility that they could accidentally cause you harm. Think about having all of someone's weight hanging around your neck. Just that on its own is kind of enough of a deterrent. But beyond that, let's say this person begins to panic. Let's say this person begins to slip or fall. They are then going to tighten around your neck. You are going to lose control over not just their body, but also really your body. Because when someone has you around the neck, they are in control of your body. And that's going to make it very difficult to do anything in that moment that is going to make the situation better. Because now you have someone who might be panicking, who might be very afraid, with control of your body as you are trying to assist and control theirs. So again, we want to make sure not to allow people to put their hands around our neck, both for our safety, but also certainly for the safety of the folks that we're caring for. Just because it does, if we're in a position where we can't control our own movements, then it makes it very difficult to safely assist someone out of a situation that might be scary, or where they or both of us might be at risk. Instead, you can have them hold onto your arms if they feel like they need support. You can also direct them to assist with other parts of the transfer, things like being able to push up from the surface where they're leaving, or reaching for perhaps an armrest to the surface where they're going. But again, I can't emphasize enough, definitely try to avoid at all costs anyone having their arms around your neck. All right, so that's it, guys. You now know all 5 of the do you like how I held up 10 fingers when I said 5? I did that over the weekend too. I clearly said, said there are 6 of something and I held up 4 fingers. Red flag. Anyway, now you know 5 of the top mistakes that are often made, understandably so, when people are performing transfers, when people are assisting someone else to get up, down, move, etc. If you missed the first video in this 2-part series all about the 5 very common transfer mistakes that happen when helping someone to move, definitely take a chance to go back and check it out so you get to see the first 2 common types of mistakes that are made, and more importantly, the strategies and solutions that caregivers can use in order to prevent those mistakes from happening, make sure that transfers are safer and easier, not just for the person who's being cared for, but absolutely for the caregiver themselves too. If this content was helpful to you, if you think it would be helpful to someone else, please make sure that you are sharing it. Please like it, follow me, subscribe to the channel so that I can continue to make this content available to caregivers, to make life safer and easier, and to offer y'all some support in a really practical, meaningful way. That is absolutely my mission. I'm an occupational therapist. Of course, I've worked with a gazillion caregivers. I've trained lots of caregivers in person. I've worked with thousands of patients, clients, etc. My job as an occupational therapist is to empower others to do the things that they need and want to do in life. So my mission here with this content is truly to help empower caregivers to do the things that they need and want to do in the safest, easiest way possible. If that is helpful to you, if that's meaningful to you, then please make sure that you are subscribing to the channel, liking the content, etc. And make sure that you share it with anyone else that you feel like could benefit. Until then, y'all, please take care of yourself. I know that if you're watching this, you are probably very busy taking care of other people. Find any little bit that you can to make sure you're caring for yourself. I realize that is so easy to say and so hard to do, but please remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. That's part of why I'm here for you, is to help you take care of yourself. So until next time, do take care, and I will see you later. All right, bye.